And devil, I command you to get your filthy hands off of this woman of God's life. In the name of Jesus. Be healed. Now.
No, he don't have a fever. He doesn't have a fever. It's funny how y'all over there trying to diagnose my child. He is okay. Pray for his little cold to go away.
Something is very wrong, and the internet felt it before anyone said a word. 1 minute, timelines were arguing about tattoos, toxic relationships, and who unfollowed who the next minute. The conversation swerved so hard it gave social media. Whiplash, Chrisean Jr. was suddenly the center of a health scare, and the vibes went from messy to downright disturbing. And just when people thought it couldn't get more unhinged, Karlissa jumped in with a claim so wild it sounded like a deleted scene from a low-budget horror movie. Worms, yes, you heard that right. Not stress, not exhaustion, not a routine. Illness, but worms, the kind of word that makes people itch just hearing it. This wasn't just gossip anymore. This was the kind of allegation that sticks to your brain like a bad headline you can't unsee. Fans froze, critics pounced, memes spawned instantly. And suddenly, everyone on the internet became a doctor, a detective, and a judge at the same time. If you thought the Kardashians invented chaos marketing, this saga just put them on notice. Because what unfolded next wasn't just drama, it was a full-blown digital circus, complete with clowns, finger-pointing, and receipts that may or may not exist. And the scariest part, this story didn't feel accidental, it felt leaked. The moment the whispers started, the internet didn't ask questions, it grabbed pitchforks. There was no official press release, no calm statement wrapped in PR language, just fragments floating around like smoke after an explosion, a missed live, a clipped comment. A strange pause that fans swore felt off in this digital age. That's all it takes. When Chrisean Jr. became the center of hushed concern, the timeline shifted from chaotic entertainment to uneasy obsession in under an hour. People weren't scrolling anymore. They were hunting. And the scariest part wasn't what was being said. It was what WAS and single quotes T-Dot fans started doing what fans always do when something feels wrong. They rewound old videos like conspiracy theorists with Wi-Fi. They compared timelines, dates, facial expressions, and background noises like this was a true crime doc dropping in real time. Every sneeze was reinterpreted. Every cough became a clue. Every moment of silence was turned into a question mark. The size of a billboard, concern turned into speculation, and speculation mutated into accusation before anyone could even agree on what the problem was. The energy was off. And the internet could smell it. Then Karlissa stepped in, and everything escalated from messy to unhinged. Karlissa doesn't whisper, she doesn't soften edges. She drops statements like grenades and waits to see who dives for cover. So when she floated the idea that worms might be involved, the reaction wasn't confusion. It was shock mixed with horror, mixed with that sick curiosity people pretend they don't have. Worms isn't a neutral word. Worms is a word that makes your skin crawl. Worms is the kind of claim that hijacks logic and drives straight into emotion. And once that word was out there, it couldn't be stuffed back into the bottle. Social media did what it always does when something disturbing enters the chat. It amplified it. Screenshots spread faster than context. Clips were reposted without tone, without nuance, without breaks. The word worms became the headline instead of the allegation. And suddenly, everyone with a phone and an opinion became a medical expert, a parenting judge, and a moral authority all at once. It was less about facts and more about outrage optics, because outrage travels faster than truth, and this story had jet fuel. Some fans immediately went into panic mode, demanding answers and accountability as if a full investigation could be launched through comment sections. Others accused Karlissa of exploiting a sensitive situation for attention, clout, or long-running beef. And then there were the spectators, the ones who treated it like episode 12 of a reality show that refuses to end. Memes popped up within minutes. Because the internet doesn't process discomfort quietly. It laughs, it mocks, it exaggerates, and in this case, it turned a health scare into a digital circus with no ringmaster. What made the situation even darker was the history hanging over it like a storm cloud. This wasn't happening in a vacuum. The relationship dynamics, the public feuds, the constant online warfare between adults who should know better all came rushing back into focus. People weren't just reacting to one claim, they were reacting to a pattern of chaos, public conflict, and personal business being aired out like laundry on a windy day. So when a child became part of the narrative, the tone shifted from gossip to discomfort, even if the memes tried to pretend otherwise. The silence from Chrisean's side didn't calm anything down. It poured gasoline on the fire. In internet logic, no response isn't patience, it's suspicion. People don't wait anymore. They fill in blanks with their worst assumptions. Every minute without clarification was interpreted as confirmation of something sinister. Fans demanded statements, critics demanded accountability, trolls demanded content, and the timeline fed all of them at once, because chaos is the only thing that truly satisfies the algorithm. Meanwhile, Karlissa's words kept echoing, replayed, out of context, reposted with dramatic captions, and framed as if they were definitive conclusions rather than inflammatory commentary. The nuance disappeared instantly. What was said became what was believed, and what was believed became what was repeated. That's how rumors turn into narratives, and narratives turn into internet folklore. By the time anyone tried to slow things down, the damage was already viral. What really pushed this from scandal into full-blown controversy was how people started assigning blame before understanding kniving. Parenting judgments flew like darts. Accusations were hurled with zero evidence but maximum confidence. The internet loves a villain, and it doesn't care if it has the right one. It just needs someone to point at, and in this case, everyone had a different target depending on which clip they watched last. The wildest part was watching concern and cruelty exist side by side. One comment would be praying, the next would be laughing. One post would demand privacy, the next would tag every blog account imaginable. It was moral whiplash. And nobody noticed the contradiction because outrage doesn't require consistency, it just requires emotion. And this story had it in abundance. As the hours passed, the situation stopped feeling like a misunderstanding and started feeling like a pressure cooker. The internet wasn't waiting for clarity anymore. It was waiting for the next explosion. Everyone knew something else was coming. Another comment, another live, another screenshot. Because this saga never ends quietly. It escalates. And if this was just the opening act, the crowd could already sense the chaos building behind the curtain. By the end of the night, one thing was clear. This wasn't just about a health scare or a reckless comment. It was about how fast speculation becomes weaponized, how easily a child's situation can be dragged into adult beef, and how social media turns concern into content without blinking. And as the noise grew louder, one question hung in the air, unanswered and uncomfortable. If this was only the beginning, what happens when the rest of the story comes out? And that's when the internet did what it does best. It waited, not patiently, not quietly, but hungrily, ready for the next drop, the next twist, and the next moment that would make this chaos spiral even further out of control. Once Karlissa's words finished ricocheting across the internet, the story stopped simmering and went full boil. This wasn't a slow burn anymore. This was a grease fire thrown directly onto the algorithm. Celebrity blogs woke up like they'd been handed caffeine intravenously. Reaction channels scrambled. Commentators who hadn't mentioned the situation in months suddenly remembered everyone's name again. Because nothing brings people together faster than controversy with a shock factor. And Worms had shock value written all over it in neon letters. The memes arrived first, because humor is how the internet copes with discomfort it doesn't want to process. Cartoon doctors, circus music, clown emojis multiplied like they were on a buy one get 10 sale. Some people pretended they were joking, but the undertone was ugly. Laughing at the situation while pretending it was just internet culture didn't erase the fact that a child was at the center of the conversation. But subtlety doesn't trend, extremes do. And this story had officially crossed into spectacle territory. Then came the reaction videos, which somehow managed to be louder than the original claim. Influencers sat in their cars, bedrooms, and poorly lit studios, speaking with the confidence of people who had absolutely no verified information, but unlimited opinions. One camp framed Karlissa as reckless, accusing her of saying the quiet part out loud just to stir the pot. Another camp treated her words like a coded warning that everyone else was too scared to say. The audience didn't know who to believe. But belief wasn't the point anymore. Engagement was. The situation escalated further when unrelated celebrities and internet personalities started chiming in without mentioning names. But somehow everyone knew exactly who they were talking about. Vague posts flooded timelines, full of phrases like "some people shouldn't be parents" and "this industry protects the wrong ones." Nobody said anything directly, but everyone said enough. It became a Sweet Olympics, where the gold medal went to whoever could imply the most without risking a lawsuit. Meanwhile, fans who originally showed concern started splitting into factions. One side doubled down, demanding explanations and updates as if they were shareholders in someone else's personal life. The other side pushed back hard, calling out the internet's obsession with turning real situations into entertainment. The arguments became louder than the original issue. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds filled with caps lock, half-facts, and moral superiority. Everyone was outraged. But nobody agreed on why. And then the comparison started, because the internet can't resist a good analogy. People said this chaos made reality TV look scripted. Others joked that this saga had more plot twists than a soap opera written by caffeinated raccoons. Someone even compared the entire situation to a reality show that got canceled but refused to stop filming anyway. It was dark humor, sure, but it highlighted something uncomfortable. This wasn't just drama anymore. This was a cycle. What really poured fuel on the fire was how quickly old clips resurfaced. Videos from months ago were reposted with brand new captions, reframed to support whatever narrative the poster wanted that day. Context was treated like an optional accessory. A smile became suspicious. A laugh became evidence. A moment of frustration became a confession. The internet rewrote history in real time because nothing sells outrage like selective memory. As the noise grew, so did the accusations. Parenting choices were dissected by strangers who couldn't keep a houseplant alive. Armchair experts diagnosed situations they'd never encountered, speaking with the confidence of people who mistook Google searches for qualifications. Every comment section felt like a courtroom where nobody agreed on the charges, but everyone wanted a conviction. It was judgment theater, and the audience loved it. Karlissa, of course, remained a central figure in the storm. Every word she said, every post she liked, every silence she maintained became another breadcrumb for the internet to chase. Supporters claimed she was being vilified for speaking up. Critics insisted she was exploiting chaos for relevance. Both sides talked past each other, and neither was interested in slowing down, because slowing down would mean reflecting, and reflection doesn't trend. The most unsettling shift came when the story stopped being about concern and started being about sides. People weren't asking what was true anymore. They were asking who they were supposed to defend. Loyalty replaced logic, bias replaced patience, and suddenly, facts mattered less than affiliation. If you liked one person, you rejected everything the other said by default. The situation became tribal. And once that happens, reason is the first casualty. As the public outrage reached peak volume, the pressure mounted. Silence felt heavier. Every passing hour without clarity made the internet louder, not calmer. Speculation stacked on speculation until the original issue was almost unrecognizable beneath the layers of commentary, the child at the center of it all faded into the background. replaced by narratives, think pieces, and monetized reactions, concern had officially been swallowed by content creation. By the time people started saying things like "this is getting too far," it already had. The train had left the station, crashed through the fence, and was still being live-streamed for views. What began as whispers had turned into a full-scale digital riot, complete with moral grandstanding, selective empathy, and performative outrage. And the most dangerous part wasn't the claim itself. It was how eagerly the internet ran with it. As the dust refused to settle and tensions stayed high, one thing became painfully obvious. This wasn't going to resolve quietly. There were too many egos involved, too many platforms feeding off the chaos, and too much history fueling the fire. Whatever came next wouldn't be subtle. It would be louder, messier, and far more revealing than anyone expected. Because in this saga, the internet never waits for closure. It waits for escalation. And judging by how fast this story was spiraling, the fallout was just getting started. By the time the outrage hit its peak, the damage was already baked in. No clarification could rewind the clips. No explanation could unsee the screenshots. The internet had already decided this story was bigger than the truth. It had become a symbol. A symbol of dysfunction, of unchecked commentary, of adults turning chaos into content while a child's name floated through the wreckage like collateral damage. And once a narrative reaches that stage, facts stop mattering as much as perception. Reputations began taking hits from every direction. Karlissa's name trended alongside words like reckless, cruel, and calculated, depending on who was typing. Supporters insisted she was being punished for speaking uncomfortable thoughts out loud. Critics argued she crossed a line that shouldn't even exist on the map. The debate wasn't just loud. It was vicious. People weren't discussing actions anymore. They were questioning character, intent, and morality like this was a public trial with no judge and unlimited jurors. Chrisean's public image took a different kind of hit. Silence, which might have once been interpreted as restraint, started being framed as avoidance. Every hour without a statement became another opportunity for speculation to stretch its legs. Fans who once defended her unconditionally started sounding conflicted. Detractors grew bolder. The narrative shifted from concern to criticism, from worry to blame. Fair or not, that's how the internet works. Absence creates its own story, and it's rarely flattering. The relationships around the situation didn't escape unscathed either. Old beefs resurfaced with fresh captions. People who had been quiet suddenly remembered old grudges. Subtle shade turned into thinly veiled accusations. It felt less like a resolution was coming and more like everyone was choosing sides before the final whistle even blew. And once sides are chosen, reconciliation becomes impossible because nobody wants to admit they backed the wrong narrative. What made the aftermath even messier was how normalized the chaos became. After a few days, people stopped reacting with shock and started reacting with expectation. Another wild claim, of course, another dramatic post, naturally. The bar for surprise had been raised so high that normal behavior felt suspicious. That's when you know a saga has gone too far. When dysfunction stops being alarming and starts being routine, brands, platforms, and collaborators quietly distance themselves, not with statements, but with absence. No public denouncements. Just fewer tags, fewer interactions, fewer appearances. In the entertainment world, silence from brands speaks louder than any tweet. It's the soft rejection that tells you reputational damage has crossed into financial territory. And once money starts paying attention, things get real very fast. Meanwhile, the audience began to splinter. Some viewers claimed they were done, exhausted by the constant chaos and moral fatigue. Others leaned in harder, addicted to the unpredictability. Refreshing feeds like they were waiting for a season finale. The same people who said this is too much were still watching, still commenting, still sharing, because outrage may be tiring. But it's also entertaining, and the internet has never been great at choosing ethics over engagement. The most uncomfortable realization settled in slowly. This entire situation wasn't driven by one comment or one claim. It was the result of a system that rewards extremes, platforms that monetize mess, and audiences that can't look away. Karlissa didn't create that system. Chrisean didn't invent it. They just exist inside it, navigating a landscape where attention is currency and chaos is profitable. As the noise began to thin, not disappear but thin, the story entered its most dangerous phase. The quiet aftermath. This is where narratives harden into reputations, where first impressions become permanent labels, where people stop arguing and start remembering, long after the memes fade and the comments slow down. The association remains. That's the part nobody talks about when they're busy chasing virality. And yet, the story still didn't feel finished. It felt paused, like a show that cuts to black right before the biggest reveal. Too many loose ends, too many unanswered questions. Too many personalities involved who aren't known for letting things die peacefully. Anyone who's followed this saga long enough knows closure isn't the goal. Continuation is. The internet moved on to the next trending topic, as it always does. But it didn't forget, it archived. Screenshots live forever. Clips resurface when least expected. Old controversies get recycled the moment a new one appears. This wasn't an ending. It was a bookmark, a reminder that once chaos goes public, it never fully disappears. It just waits. What remains most disturbing is how easily the line between concern and content was crossed, how quickly empathy got replaced by entertainment, how a serious situation became a scoreboard for likes and views. That's not just a commentary on this saga. It's a mirror held up to the entire culture that consumes it. As the dust settled and the timelines quieted, one truth lingered louder than all the rest. In a world where every moment can be monetized and every reaction turned into revenue, chaos isn't accidental. It's cultivated, and until that changes, stories like this won't be rare. They'll be inevitable. So the question isn't whether this saga is over. The question is when the next chapter drops, because history says it will. And when it does, the internet will act surprised, outraged, and invested all over again. If you made it this far, congratulations, you just survived. Another episode of Internet Insanity without a helmet. Because let's be real, this wasn't just drama. This was a masterclass in how chaos gets monetized and common sense gets left at the door. One comment turns into a wildfire. One screenshot becomes a verdict. And suddenly everyone's an expert with a Wi-Fi connection and zero qualifications. And somehow you're still here. That tells me everything I need to know. Now do me a favor and smash that like button like it owes you money and try to dodge you on payday. Drop a comment and tell me what you really think, because I already know your fingers are itching to type. Was this concern taken too far? Or did somebody light a match and walk away smiling? Say it with your chest, because the comment section is where the real fights break out. And you know you love a good digital boxing match. If you're not subscribed yet, fix that immediately. Hit that subscribe button like it's the last lifeboat on the Titanic, because scandals don't take days off and neither do we. This channel doesn't do bedtime stories or sugar-coated fairy tales. We break down chaos, decode internet meltdowns, and call out the circus exactly as it shows up. Clown shoes and all. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because when the next screenshot leaks, when the next live goes left, when the next this can't be real moment hits your timeline, you'll want to be early, not catching up. This saga might be quiet today, but history says silence is just the loading screen. Stick around, stay loud, and keep your popcorn ready, because if there's one thing the internet guarantees, it's that the next scandal is already warming up backstage. Welcome to Celeb Insanity, where chaos never sleeps.